Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Welcome back to another episode of the Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. You're in the right place if you're an agent, you're a team leader, you're a broker owner, whether you're a newer agent or a seasoned veteran, you're listening to the right podcast if you want to work smarter, not harder, and you'd like to increase your average sale price in 2022 and beyond. Just a couple housekeeping items before we bring on today's guest, which I'm really excited about. We launched a new series called Luxury Fridays. Luxury Fridays, each week we are Zooming and streaming live. You can go to luxuryfridays.com, click on the first link, and you will get access to our YouTube live stream. Again, consistently on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central, but from time to time, if we have a conflict, we're traveling. At the time of this recording, this week's Luxury Fridays will be 4 p.m. on Friday because I'll be out of state with a consulting client. So again, luxuryfridays.com, check that out. It'd be a great time for us to bring you on camera. You can ask your question in real time. We have special guests. Again, that's each Friday. Last week, however, we did it from our luxury designation event in Texas. So luxuryfridays.com. And just a reminder, if you're getting value from this podcast, leave us a review, a 5-star review, if it's earned only, on iTunes and Spotify, Stitcher, or if you have our book. We could use more reviews, just like I'm sure you can as an agent. All right, for today's guest, before I bring on Eddy, we've had various guests, whether they be top luxury agents, strategic partners, motivational speakers. You know, we look at our topics as we're releasing 4 podcasts a month as an opportunity to not just cover the same content, although all things real estate related directly and indirectly. But in this case, I was really moved. I spoke at a real estate conference in February in Atlanta for EPM Mortgage, and their founder, who I got to know, who's our guest today, he delivered such a great story, and it was about the American gift, And so before I bring Eddy on, that's what we're going to be really talking about, is what you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. To be a top agent, to increase your average sale price, for you to meet your goals in 2022 and beyond, it really starts within the years. Yes, you got to have systems in place, and you got to have the right hires, and we talked about branding and lead gen in the past, but really the mindset and your outlook on so much in your day-to-day business is really vital. And so there's been a lot over the last couple of years of stuff going on within the United States and outside the United States where it can be discouraging, but it's really about what you focus on. What you focus on expands. And we have such a gift for our listeners that are listening that are based in the United States. We have such a gift here with, I think, the greatest country in the world. So this message really resonated with me. And so I'm going to bring on Eddy Perez. Eddy, are you there?
I'm here.
So thank you, Eddy Perez, EPM Mortgage. You guys became a lender in 2008, I believe, is when you officially could lend on your own money.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you guys are headquartered out of Atlanta, but you're in all 50 states you can lend on.
Correct.
So tell everybody, first off, about your conference that I spoke at. It was awesome. It was open to both real estate agents and people in the lending industry. Talk to us about the EPMX conference in a couple months back.
Yeah, no. And first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be on the podcast. It was definitely an honor. So I do want to say thank you to you, Mike, for this opportunity. But yeah, EPMX is it was the Empowering People More experience. I think one of the opportunities, I'm not going to really say challenge, because I think it's an opportunity at the end, is for whatever reason, for an industry that, as I had discussed in there, when you combine real estate and all its services, has about a net effect of $7 trillion on the economy, is just very divided and divisive for no reason. And I think it's because there's this belief that we're not all in this together, and everybody has their own domains and, parts of it. However, we wanted to do something that we had never seen in the industry, that we had agents, builders, mortgage brokers, retail loan officers, just people of the whole spectrum. We had appraisal companies there, title, credit, everybody that really encompasses that huge ecosystem of $7 trillion, and start having discussions at the table and bring speakers that really highlight not just real estate, but the overall effect that we have on all 330 million Americans that live here. And just even from multifamily, everything that is embodied in real estate, we wanted to bring it together, and it was ambitious. However, it was a huge success. We had a lot of people there and a lot of great conversations that have come from it. So just very thankful that it went as well.
It was a great event. I was fortunate enough to be asked to speak at it. And talk to us about some of the headline speakers you had. Again, EPM stands for Empowering People More, correct? EPM Mortgage, yeah. Empower People More. And obviously culture, giving, in your case, lenders the tools and resources to be successful, to get in front of more top agents. But the EPMX conference, there were some big headliners. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. And just real quick, the Empowering People More is really the theme, and how we're growing into a bigger brand that has other organizations. But the EPM mortgage side is Equity Prime Mortgage, just to specify that.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
But it was not the Equity Prime Mortgage experience. It really was the Empowering People More experience, because we had people that, quote unquote, some people call competitors. I don't believe in competitors. I believe competitors are the best version of yourself. They are the competition, but I think more collaboration's needed. But yeah, some of the headline speakers, you had Damon John from Shark Tank, you had Gary Vaynerchuk, VaynerMedia, pretty much the biggest social marketer out there. You had Egypt from HDTV, as well as people like yourself, everyday leaders inside the industry. We had a panel. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're okay.
Of course, I got a phone call, so I had to send them the voicemail. You also had just everyday people. For the first time ever, we had all 4 trade associations inside the lending space all together at the table, then realizing that, wait a second, we have so many similarities, it's not even funny. So it had a lot of great speakers, and people really enjoyed the intimacy, because there was right about 380 people there.
And you had the NFL's leading rusher of all time, right? Emmitt Smith was also there.
Yeah, definitely. We are a sponsor and with Emmitt Smith and Jesse Awuji Sports, and he just did a NASCAR, and it's been very exciting on that too. So, being a Cowboys fan myself, it was very fun to see Emmitt there, but really talk about so many different things that I think is really needed. But at the end, it had the theme of collaboration. And I think what a lot of people don't understand just is there's not so much right or wrong really anymore. It's really like what you're saying right is what you're saying is right. So it's more of an and I think that was a lot of the focuses that we had.
Mm-hmm. And I thought Eddy would be a great guest before we get into the American Gift topic, from the standpoint of, as real estate agents, right? Same thing. There's a lot of agents and brokerages that have scarcity mindset. There's so much competition, and rightfully so. Competition isn't a bad thing necessarily, but again, keeping the consumer in mind, right? And when we launched our designation 6 years ago now, we literally battled with, do we require a previous luxury sale requirement? In other words, you got to sell 2 luxury homes in the top 10% of your market to get certified in luxury. And ultimately, we waived that because we wanted to protect the consumer. Eddy, if a friend of yours wanted to sell their home and they hired an agent, we wanted that agent to have the tools and the resources and the network to be successful, versus, hey, good luck, and if you don't sell, once you get a couple sales, come back and take our course. So like we wanted to raise the bar for the industry, and you can't do that with the scarcity mindset. And so, same thing, in the mortgage industry, with Equity Prime Mortgage, same thing. I saw other lenders in the audience as well. And I think it's great that you guys, don't have that scarcity mindset. So kudos to you on that. And a couple things that I wanted to also point out is I noticed from a diversity standpoint, one of my goals for our designation, we just had our second luxury live in-person designation for 2022 already. We had Denver in January. We just had Texas last month. And then in April, we're going to be doing Miami. And then in Chicago in May. So we're doing more live events. But one of my goals for 2022, the big, hairy, audacious goal, is to get 1,000 agent scholarship through our course, through our designation. You guys can check out luxurylistingspecialist.com for more information on that, luxurylistingspecialist.com. But our goal is to get 1,000 scholarships out there through the various associations with diversity, right? So you have NAREB, National Association of Real Estate Brokers, you have NAREP, you have ARIA, you have the LGBTQ Alliance, you have YPN, you have WCR. So that is a big goal of ours, Eddy. And one thing that I noticed too is you had very diverse speakers as well as diverse leadership within EPM.
Sure.
We weren't prepared for that question, but it's something I want to acknowledge. And if you would like to add to that, feel free.
Yeah, well, look, I'm first generation born in this country from Cuban immigrants. So I myself am a minority. English was not my first language. And then I grew up in the inner city of Atlanta, where the largest ethnicity still is African American. So my father and mother have given me phenomenal advice over the years, but one that I'll never forget at a very young age is, look, you live in Atlanta in the inner city, and even though you're 100% Cuban, this isn't Miami. You better get used to everybody else's culture because there's just not that many Cubans around here. And there was a little bit more when I was younger. However, it did give me a perspective that was very knowledgeable and also led to just some genuine curiosity. So I think that curiosity, as well as just the mindset of inclusion, to me is always when you invite everybody in of all ethnicities. Diversity of thought, I think, is very powerful. And if you just hire people that look different but think the same, you're still a cult. So to have a culture, we have put a lot of emphasis on different strengths, different people, and really brought that makeup of diversity of thought. So that's actually what really has led to so many people that look different and come from different backgrounds. Because even, your everyday of the mill, Caucasian males, even ours had come from backgrounds where maybe they bootstrapped themselves through life. Or, you can't tell at first glance, could be Latino, could be Jewish, or at a minimum, a lot of them, a good amount have Italian descent, but it's only second generation. So it's really from that diversity of thought and inclusion of it that really has led to a very unique group, as I would put it.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue to the American gift. And you're telling people your story about how your father and mom came over from Cuba. So I want to go right into that. But just a reminder, for those that are listening, I teach the same concept as far as a marketer. I teach, don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer. But some of our best ideas, best concept, best marketing comes from outside the industry, right? So you want to be in a mastermind or a Shark Tank with others from different cultures, different backgrounds, maybe different industries, different experience, so you can get various perspectives. Because if you're a newer agent and you're only in a mastermind with other newer agents, well, that's great. You guys can talk about what you struggle with, but you don't have the peers that have a little bit more experience providing, and vice versa. So getting different perspectives, not just from an inclusion standpoint, but from a diversity standpoint, is so important.
Hi, it's Michael LaFido here with a quick break from the podcast. If you are committed to increasing your average sale price and you want to work smarter, not harder, then you want to check out luxurylistingspecialist.com, where you'll find out more information about the Lux designation along with some additional resources. Again, I'll repeat, check out luxurylistingspecialist.com. And now let's get back to the show.
In 2021, I helped launch a designation called CDS, Certified Diversity Specialist designation. My role was to help package everything together. I was not the content expert, but there was some great terminology and great modules in there, one of which was called unconscious bias. So me as a white male and in my 40s, I have a different bias being raised in the suburbs than perhaps somebody that was raised in the inner city that came from less money from me, which is different than unconscious bias that somebody came from wealth than I did. So again, just being cognizant of that. So one of the things I used to always talk about, Eddy, with our designation is I didn't come from a family where my dad and my mom were in real estate and they passed along their entrepreneur spirit. I say I didn't come from money. I say I came from blue collar, but me not coming from money, Eddy, is all relative, because somebody that's listening to this, I came from money because I had a roof over my head and my parents worked and they were able to send me to college, even though I was the first to go to college. So it's really all relative. And so being empathetic to your story, as well as other people's story.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So talk to me about the American gift, because that was something that I really resonated. I'm very patriotic. Folks,
Sure.
I'm a former college athlete. And so, my high school state championship team, my high school football team won the state championship. We were undefeated. And there's an old adage that the film don't lie. So in other words, Friday night, we went out, we had a big win. We're all excited. Well, Saturday morning as a high school player, we'd come in and watch film, and the coaches would have so much a demand for us they expected perfection, and it drove us to be better. So same thing in college football. You play a game on a Saturday, Sunday you come in, you watch film, the film don't lie. Well, as a founder of our designation, we're always trying to get better. Well, same thing with Americans. I'm very patriotic. I think we are by far the best country in the world. But in the light of the last 2 years, we definitely realize that there's a lot of shortcomings of the country and we can get better. But I like to say our country's so good, it's our haters won't leave. Now, that doesn't mean we're content with where we're at. We want to get better as a country. We want to get more inclusion, more diverse, be more loving, and more come from a place of understanding. But I still believe our country, even with all our shortcomings, is the world champion. And so, Eddy, talk to me a little bit about the American gift, right? So you've heard of the American dream. Here's the American gift. So talk to me about the American gift, because it resonated when I spoke at the conference and met you for the first time in February.
This can go on for a very long time, but like I say, just to give it a little bit of some context, I think the American dream is completely alive. However, I think something that's not realized, and I talked about what is the American gift, and I'll give a little bit of that adage, is that from the population in the world, it's about 7.6, 7.7 billion, somewhere in that ballpark. I've seen the numbers higher, lower, but we'll just go, just for argument's sakes, we'll say 7.6 billion. And there's 330 million Americans. They're saying that number is a little bit higher. Okay, well, we'll just use those bases. But I think what isn't realized, and the immigrant, and look, I consider it a huge gift that I was given this level of perspective, especially being first generation. So I got to see what it took to get here and really understood that pain from what went through all my family, especially some of even my cousins that were born there, as well as I grew up here and I got to see the beautiful side of America and what it's really about. And also got to see so much kindness, people that helped my father, helped my family, even helped me. I didn't know English when I got to grade school, but what I tell people is, and it's not like a right or wrong. It's like I say, like somebody can say the same thing. The American dream is completely alive. However, it's to the 7.3 billion people that aren't in this country. A dream is just a dream till it becomes a reality. And the reason I say for all of us, the 330 million Americans, it's the American gift, because it's not a dream. We get to live it every day. And look, as sad as it says, you're seeing it now, right now in Ukraine. What's going on is you've got a brutal dictatorship who wants to seize minerals. If you look into why Ukraine was a strategic move, it wasn't this liberation, but it's somebody who wants to bring back the glory days of the old mother country, when you got to know the background that he was a KGB agent and all that. So I'm not surprised by brutal dictatorships, because I got to see the stories from my family and see the real visible pain. And my grandfather, who had built his company, his assets from nothing, who got it all seized overnight. So I'm not saying that this country's perfect, because it's kind of like what you alluded to. Nothing's perfect, because we're humans, we're flawed. So of course there's going to be opportunity to get better. But what America has always done, and the real gift, it's not just the opportunity, it's not just the education. You'll hear them say, well, the literacy rate is better here, the education's better there. America was the land of opportunity, and why it's a gift, because it allows you to be who you want to be. If you want to be a W-2 worker, great. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to grow, if you want an opportunity, especially now with social media, you can have these side hustles that really don't take away from your day job, but allow you to learn how to be entrepreneurial. And that's really what you can't teach, because there isn't really school systems that teach that. And that's why I say it's a gift, especially from our industry. There is no industry, $7 trillion. I always tell people, think about that. If we were just an economy, real estate and services, construction, everything, and forget about, furniture and things of that nature that get impacted. So, I mean, direct line, what is $7 trillion? So what United States real estate is the size of Japan. So if you look at it from an economic standpoint, you have America, China, and you'd have Japan and US real estate, even if you took it out of America's economy. And what it does, multifamily. So even if somebody only ever makes it to renting, our industry touched it. Residential, investment properties, even hotels, our industry touched it. So even if you live in an apartment, but if you take a vacation with your family, you own residential real estate, you grow it, you grow investments, commercial, anything you look at, our industry touches every single human, even that's in America, even the homeless, as I said, because the homeless shelters, churches, people that are trying to help them get on a leg up, somewhere our industry either sold them the real estate, or has financed it for them, or has built it for them. And that's why I say the American dream is completely alive for 7.3 billion people. To the 330 million, it's an opportunity for self-improvement. It's a process. It's a gift. And it's no different than a gift that we get on the holidays from family that we love. It's what we do with those pairs of jeans. Like I say, you can get the jean and not wear it, or not enjoy it, or not do something with it. But it's really how you wear it and what you do with it. And you're given that liberty. Not everybody gets to sit on, as crazy as it sounds and painful, on the street and insult the president without getting killed. My uncle had to go to a firing squad and survived, Cuban prison for 4 years, because he had fought for Fidel. And then when he realized what really went on, which a lot of people didn't realize later, and then he turned against it, he got sent to jail for that. And luckily his family was able to keep paying money to basically keep him alive, and God rest his soul, because he's passed too, like my father. But we don't have those challenges. And where I always say about the American gift is, we live in a world right now that's trying to end struggle. I've never seen anything that wasn't built great without struggle. And that's even for people that are born here. That's even like people like you, Mike. You may have not grown up with this wealth, but to build where you are today, you've put in the long hours. You sacrifice time. You've had to read books and learn and get better. You've had to bring people in. You've had to make a lot of mistakes. The difference is some people struggle. Some people struggle well. And what I mean by that is Lombardi has a famous quote that I love so much, that, he says, understanding that perfection doesn't exist, but in the process, you catch excellence. When you struggle well, I view that as excellence. Does not mean that you didn't have long days. Doesn't mean you made a lot of mistakes. Doesn't mean that it wasn't hard, but it's that appreciation for the struggle that is truly the gift, because we've seen it time and time again. When people don't struggle, they either never get out of poverty, which is a mindset, or they come from wealth and then they destroy it all. Because at the end, I think that struggle actually adds to resilience, as we've seen. That really is at the backbone of mental health and really promoting your mental health and really growing it. And, that's what to me is the American gift that we all here get to live every day, which is that chance to just improve 1% better every day.
Mm-hmm. So put together so well there, Eddy. I appreciate that insight. And, I can't help but think for me, being an athlete, former athlete was so important. I have kids that are younger and they play sports. And I just think sports is such a microcosm of real life, right? So, use baseball. So if somebody's struggling and they fight through it, even if they don't want, that's, that struggle, being excellent at that struggle, right? Still not giving up and trying to better perfect themselves. And so no different, right, guys? Like I tell agents all the time, you log into Facebook and, hey, somebody just listed their home, but you sold them that home and they didn't list with you, right? We get kicked in the shins a lot in this industry. No different, Eddy, in your industry, where you're working on file, you're working on a refinance, you're working on a purchase, and then they rate shop, right? They're not loyal. They're thinking short term, and then of course they might get a lot of turbulence with somebody else. Well, same thing in our industry. We'll lose a past client, a current client. There's a lot of things we can do to minimize that, but even if you do all those things, it still might happen. So that's something that we're encouraging, agents to really work on their mindset. Those of you that are listening to this podcast on this episode, again, you can't build, your brain is a muscle. You can't build that muscle. You can't work on your mindset enough. And that's really, Eddy put it so perfect. Like, you're here. We have this gift. It's up to you to do with it what you want. What are you going to focus on? Is that glass half empty or is it half full? Again, there is no easy button. There's no reset button, so to speak, but each day is a gift, and you're writing your own book, and look at it that way. Maybe your last chapter was terrible, but what can you do at this chapter moving forward? And that's really what it's about. I feel like a lot of the people that come to my live trainings, there's a mixture of male and female. A lot of the female agents, they're starting over. They're in their second or their third career. Maybe they went through a divorce, and it's like, I use the word rear view mirror syndrome. You got to focus on the front windshield and moving forward each day versus focusing on the rear view and the past. You can't live life in the past because it's hard to move forward. And again, the American gift, we are living it. It's up to you to do with it what you want. So what a great message. I really, really appreciate that, Eddy.
You're welcome. And like you said, is if you can't get part of the past, that's what really leads to depression. And that makes sense. And you got to just keep pushing forward. And I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but not everybody, one thing they talk about is trying to even the playing field, but not playing fields weren't meant to be even. And what I mean by that is that I can't be upset that I didn't grow to 7 feet tall and I can't play basketball. It's just, it's you get dealt a certain hand, and it's really what you're going to do about it, especially today. Like I said, Steve Jobs changed the world with the iPhone, and just the access of what you can do today is actually leveling the playing field. I really think the internet, social media, which is just an advanced form of the internet, truly is making, in a metaphoric way, the world flat. Like, you can now see across the whole globe what's going on everywhere. That didn't exist when I was a kid. You would hear about stuff or have to read it in a paper. And this allows us, I've heard something, and I don't know how true this is, but it does make sense that they said since the iPhone, so we're talking about, that was in September of 2007. So we're talking about 14 and a half years. We've learned not only more about ourselves, but more about our minds and its capabilities than we did for thousands of years before that. So just nibble on that and really, take what you want from it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. We've learned more about ourselves through technology, but to play devil's advocate, it can also suck you in, right? And it can influence you, right? So if you're if you're reading certain publications from a certain news outlet and you don't diversify and do your own research, you can be manipulated.
Oh yeah,
very easily. So we could do a couple podcasts just on that topic alone, Eddy.
Sadly, yeah. And look, sometimes people want a certain narrative, so they'll follow and see what they want, and it's tough. I get it. That's why I'm a bigger advocate of reading books or some people say, well, I don't like reading. Okay. Do you like audiobooks, listening? It's still a form of learning that, even if you sit there and read a book, you're not going to retain a lot of it because, I think what it really does, it's not about retaining the information. You just read to think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're so spot on with that. So, all right. So where can people find out a little bit more about Equity Prime Mortgage?
You can go to our website, epm.net. If you want to look at stuff on social media for myself, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, it's my handle on those or even my name on LinkedIn. It's at Eddy, EDDY, middle initial G, last name Perez, Perez, and the suffix Junior. As crazy as it sounds, I found that there weren't a whole lot of Eddy G. Perez Juniors. So that's how I've been able to keep that. People have asked me how have I gotten that handle. I was used to going by Junior. Sure. My father and I not only shared the same name, my son has the same name. He's the third. That's why he goes by Trip. But my father and I even shared the same birthday. So wow. I consider that such a gift.
Yeah.
And such an opportunity. Even though I'm not going to sit here and lie, the first few years after my father passed, my birthdays were very empty. However, I now remember all the fond memories and sharing our birthdays together to see who can call each other first and everything of that nature. But, it's tough losing a father that was your idol at a young age. However, a friend of mine always gave me a perspective that I'll never forget. He wrote something. He's like, look, I don't know if this matters to you. Obviously it does. I'm talking about it almost 15 years later. But he said, I have a good relationship with my father. But after watching you and your father, my father's still alive and I'm 40 and I was 31 at the time. I would have traded him passing away 9 years ago to have the 31 years you guys had. So it's just part of the journey and it's part of the struggle that we talk about. And that's a great
reminder. So what do you do as a leader, as a owner of a company? How do you keep yourself mentally tough? You mentioned reading. Is there anything else that you do?
I do what I call emotional or mental fitness. I break it down into 3 categories: mental health, mental wellness, and mental strengthening. Mental health to me is actually the physical part. Because I believe mental health is achieved through activity. So my working out, my diet, my water intake. I'm a big fan of IF. That's helped reduce swelling inside the body. That's helped my medicals get better. So I'm off 16 hours. I eat for 8, still taking the same calories. I'm not starving or dying. Supplements that I take. So I consider it that part. Mental wellness is my group of advisors, from my CEO peer group to even spouse to executives, to even my group of advisors that I have. I have a culture advisor, my trainer, my doctor. These are all people that feed me information that I'm not the expert on. And I'm a big fan of what Steve Jobs always said is hire the best and kind of get out of the way. And then mental strengthening is what you say is the time you spend with yourself getting better. Videos, reading books, meditation, mindfulness. That's all part of it. Genuine curiosity, even asking people randomly questions and just being intrigued. I spend at least, even on the days that I don't work out, I spend at least an hour to 2 hours, usually 2 hours every day, because I believe that mental wellness, like the whole mental fitness, is a journey. And you got to spend it. And then people say, well, I don't have time. You sure have time for Netflix. I didn't say that you're not going to have to get uncomfortable. Like, I gave up listening to music because I was able to spend in my car rides every day 45 minutes to an hour from either the gym or taking the kids, because I take the kids to school in the morning. I go into the office. Some days I work from home. But I found that I still spent an X amount of time in my car. That was an advanced knowledge. Plus, I learned from a mentor not to read one book at a time, read 2 to 3, because you just do 10, 15 minutes here or read 10 pages. And when you're reading a couple, then you don't get bored. It's that one book you listen to or that one video that eventually you get bored. Well, heck yeah. It's like if you ate a cheeseburger every day. Yeah, you would eventually, even if you like it, get bored. But it's really a little bit of that focus.
Okay. That's great. So mental health, mental wellness, and mental strengthening. I appreciate that. Obviously, getting different perspectives, especially from successful business owners, is what we're all about here on the Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. Again, if you have a question for myself, shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. Again, this concludes today's podcast. Eddy, some great information. You can go to equityprimemortgage.net for more information.
Or you can do EPM.
Excuse me, EPM.net. Excuse me,
Yep.
EPM.net for more information on. You guys are in all 50 states?
Yep.
Awesome. Again, if you guys have questions for me, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. Just a reminder, each Friday, again, go to luxuryfridays.com. Totally free content. We bring on various guests, all things luxury, directly and indirectly related. And we do a lot of cool interactive. Check out previous podcasts. You can go to our YouTube channel, Marketing Luxury Group. Again, I'm your host, Michael LaFido. If you guys got value from today's podcast, leave us a like, leave us a review, leave us a comment. And if we can add another guest that you would suggest, maybe somebody you've heard on another podcast, somebody you saw at a conference, we're always open to ideas and suggestions. Let us know. Until next time, my name is Michael LaFido. Keep raising the bar in real estate and enjoy the American gift. It's not like it's not deserving sometimes. However, it's what you do with it. Like Eddy mentioned, we do have a gift. It's our responsibility to raise the bar, to make somebody else feel better, to improve somebody, to uplift somebody, to work on yourself, but also work on others. And that's really, truly the American gift. Eddy, thank you so much for today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome. Until next time, guys, you can go to Luxury Specialist Podcast, Luxury Listing Podcast.com. Again, I'm your host, Michael LaFido. Make it a great day and prove others wrong.